Welcome to the Journey Podcast. I'm your host, Josh Valentine, and today I have none other than Dr. Connor Oliveri. Thank you so much for being with us here today, brother. It's such a pleasure to have you on the show. I actually met you at our Men's Business Leaders group probably about 2 years ago, and I got to learn a little bit about you. I know you're the founder of the Physicians Development Group, co-founder of Embers and Ice, and a bunch of other things you have going on.
Yep.
Recently married, which is pretty cool.
Yes, sir.
And I'm so excited to kind of go deep into your story and just kind of learn a little bit more about you. I know this is the first time we get to go deep with the overall story, and would love for you to share a little bit about, how this all came to be. We're here at Elevate Health, right?
Yeah,
and,
inside of my personal office.
Yes, you got a lot going on, a lot of movement happening, which is great. And I know you're a big figure out here in the Tampa Bay area, and would love to just kind of, get a little in depth with how this all came to be.
You make me feel really good about myself, man. I need this more often. Well, it's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me. Where do you want to start?
Let's go to childhood. You're originally from Clearwater.
Yep, born and raised in Clearwater, Florida. Well, really Palm Harbor, Florida. So for those of you who don't know, it's about 45 minutes west of here along the coast. Grew up there. Was an athlete, but growing up, baseball player. That was my passion. It's all I knew. It's all that I did. And then school came second. It was baseball, then school. In my world, my parents' world, it was always school then baseball. So I ended up graduating from Palm Harbor University High School and got a baseball scholarship down to Barry University in Miami.
Nice.
Had no idea what I wanted to do with my life outside of baseball. Yeah. And so when it came to choosing an undergraduate study, I wanted to do something that could go ahead and kind of set the foundation for the future if baseball didn't work out. That was one thing that I'm very grateful my parents had me do was basically, have a backup plan. So I chose biomedical sciences, and that was my study while my buddies were doing sociology and had the easy classes. I was doing anatomy and physiologies, organic chemistries, but it paid off just like anything does in life. So I ended up playing at Barry University for 2 years, and then I transferred to South Carolina for a year in Aiken, and then I finished playing at a small school in Lakeland known as Southeastern University. So it's a Christian school over in Lakeland. Because I bounced around so much, I needed to complete my credits, and I wanted to get my degree from a larger university, so I transferred to USF. And I graduated a year later with a degree in biomedical sciences and kind of hit this point where it was like, what's next, right? And, it's like, okay, college is over. Now I actually have to put this degree to use. And I had explored going into the medical field and pursuing, orthopedic surgery, neurosurgery. I was always super interested in those careers, and I thought that those doctors were just the coolest. But the more time that I kind of learned about them, the lifestyle and the commitment, from an internal standpoint, I didn't feel like I could do that in the OR setting. Wasn't really for me. In the hospital setting, I couldn't pull the trigger on it. And so I found myself looking into med device sales, which is a little bit different. You have a little bit more flexibility and freedom, but it's not necessarily a guarantee with regards to income. You're working off of a commission most of the time, and so that kind of fell away. And then I started looking into chiropractic care. I had a family friend who was a chiropractor, and I asked him if I could just kind of learn a little bit more about what he did, and spent a ton of time with him over the course of about 2 weeks, just kind of shadowing him, following him around. And he had multiple clinics, was a businessman more so than a doctor, and had a lot of flexibility and freedom, nice house, nice cars. And it's just kind of like I blacked out. Next thing I know, I applied to chiropractic school, and I was in Atlanta pursuing a degree in chiropractic.
Wow, that's pretty awesome.
So that's kind of early life, like beginning all the way through college.
What did your parents do?
So my dad's an architect by trade.
Nice.
Totally different. and my mom helped him build the company that they're in now.
That's amazing.
Or that they've had for the last 30 years. So they do a lot of commercial projects all over the United States. So gas stations, car washes, commercial strip plazas, large medical facilities, you name it. And now looking back, it's funny. I talk with my wife all the time. It's like, you don't know what you don't know growing up, right? And my parents were very much so not people that pushed us to do one thing or another. They really let us find our paths. And I was super grateful for that from a parenting standpoint. But at the same time, I kind of wish I spent more time with my dad to learn what he did, and knowing what I know now when it comes to just business growth and development and networking relationships, business strategy, and how to take something from 0 to 100. I absolutely think that there could have been a pathway where, I went into his business and helped him grow it in some fashion, and transitioned to bringing other sort of ancillary services into the business, and, help build something with him. But, our paths are all individualized, and
for sure,
I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be for right now, for whatever reason. I'm a faith-based guy. I don't know why God has me here, but I'm just really doing everything I can to go ahead and make the most out of what he's given to me at this point in time, and we'll see what comes next.
For sure, for sure. Would you say faith was a big part of your household? I know you went to Barry. Barry is also Christian based. One of my really good friends went to Barry. And would you say that that was a major influence just on your life growing up, or did you kind of get heavier into your faith later on in life?
I would say I was really strong on my faith through high school and college when I was playing baseball. I don't know why, but it's like I felt, and might be my skewed immature look on faith, but I felt like if I was a good young Christian guy, that God would go ahead and help me get to the MLB, right? It was just like kind of that really immature mindset of, prosthetic theology and thinking that if I do this, I'm going to get this.
Yeah.
And then when that didn't happen, things kind of fell off the rails. And I went pretty wild, rode pretty hard for probably 4 or 5 years, just trying to find myself and my identity. When you do something for such a long time, you lose yourself. And then, I lost my faith, and I just didn't know what to do. And I ended up coming back to my faith once I think I kind of got through chiropractic college, and was really starting to settle into my own identity and learning who I was, what I wanted to be as a man, as a brother, as a dad in the future, a boss, employee, whatever you want to call it.
For sure. How was it when it was time to hang up the cleats and let go of your identity in baseball? I played football for quite some time, and I know it was very difficult for me to kind of transition out of that identity into something else. How was that for you? Did you go through a similar process?
Man, it was a journey, right?
Yeah.
And isn't it funny how all athletes somehow end up becoming like great entrepreneurs, right?
Yeah,
and they all go through their own phases.
For sure.
What did it look like? For me, it looked like putting one foot in front of the other without having all the answers. Learning from my mistakes. You go through stuff and it ends up kind of bringing about emotions or feelings, right? And you have a choice of, do I want to continue to feel this way about certain things, or do I want to pivot and go in a different direction? It was an evolving process. It's not like it just a switch flipped and it happened overnight for me. I think it happened just as I continued to go ahead and grow as an individual.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Do you agree with the approach of raising a child who's playing sports to always have a backup? Or do you believe in the idea of just going in and not necessarily having some kind of a safety net? I know there's both approaches.
Yeah.
And I've seen it work for both sides, and I know where I stand. Like just having 3 boys, and just mathematically, there's like a less than 1% chance that they'll actually go pro, right? So you always want your child to have some kind of safety or security. But there's also the benefit of going all in on something. And, you know, when you typically see guys who are like 100% locked in, go all the way, but that could also be a risk as well. And there's a lot of parallels with entrepreneurship too, when it comes to that, just safety nets in general.
Yeah.
What are your views on that? For like young athletes.
Oh, man. One of my dad's buddies had this saying when we were younger. It was the 7 P's. Proper prior planning prevents piss poor performance. Yeah. And that stuck with me, and I think it stuck with my dad too. And it was something that I think I always had to kind of think about or had in the back of my mind. Was never the most talented player, right? And I think sports are great. I think everybody should play sports, especially young kids when they're growing up, right? Both team sports, individual sports. But the sports should be for fun. It shouldn't be what it's turning into such a competitive, not competitive, but such a almost all-in landscape. I think that when you do that, you're almost taking away from that child's ability to go ahead and really enjoy his early, years of life and just being a kid, right? And I think some of the best athletes that I know to this day were the ones whose parents just told them to have fun, and like, regardless of what happens, like, it's going to be okay, right? The sport is here and it's meant to be fun, and you're not going to be successful at it every time, but you just need to enjoy it and enjoy it when you do well at it. Obviously, like, we want the mindset, like, if we're going out to play a team, like, we're going to go beat some ass, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But at the same time, if you lose, be a good sport, right? Now, you don't want to prepare to lose. You want to prepare to win, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
But if you lose, and you learn from what you went through, and then you try to improve and be the best that you can be next time.
For sure. It's interesting. Yesterday, I shot a podcast, and I asked the person I was interviewing about participation trophies. What are your views on that?
I think they're the worst things that could possibly be done to this generation. Because the reality is, man, it's teaching this false premonition that in life, if you go ahead and you do something, you're just automatically going to get rewarded for it. And that's just not how life works. Like, if I don't go out and, bust my butt to try and bring business to the doors at our businesses, we're not going to win. We're not going to succeed. Nobody's just going to deposit money in my bank account because I tried. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to go ahead and earn it.
Of course.
And so, I think that, there should be ramifications, like, for certain things. Like, you look at the Olympics, right? There's a first, a second, a third place, right? A gold, a silver, and a bronze. I think that's fair, right? For stuff like that, where, you're working your whole life in an individual sport to go ahead and try and achieve something, and you're competing with people all over the world. Yeah, like, there's got to be some sort of qualification for, first, second, third, right? But there's not a first, second, third in the World Series. There's not a first, second, third in the Super Bowl.
That's right.
There's not a first, second, and third in a golf tournament. Well, there is, but the winner is the one that's going to make the most, right? And so, I disagree with him.
Yeah, for sure. I think anyone who's a hardcore competitive person or athlete would all agree. It's
100%.
Yeah. And especially if you've received one, it's like there's no feeling behind it, right? Yeah. It's like everyone's got one. It's like if you want the red Ferrari wouldn't be the red Ferrari if all of your neighbors had
one.
a red, So it's kind of that thing. Now, let's fast forward to after graduating. What did you do directly after finishing with your formal education?
Well, I had to face a decision. Did I want to go ahead and apply for jobs and be an employee at a clinic in the Tampa Bay area, or did I want to see if I could figure out things on my own and just do my own thing? And ultimately, that's what I came to. I felt like, and I had enough confidence in myself to be able to get people through the doors, right? And that's the hardest part. I could figure out how to do everything else on the back end, utilizing the resources that I had at the time to get that stuff completed. was going to be a test, but it wasn't going to be difficult, right? You have to be resourceful when it comes to that stuff. And so ultimately decided to do my own thing. And the doctor that I was not contracted, but doing like my preceptorship with at the time, had a spare room in the back of his office. And he was kind enough to give me the opportunity to start my business of Oliveri Chiropractic out of that back room. And over the period of about 3 months, I grew my patient base, and it got to the point where it was a little difficult for my patients and his patients and just the dynamic of the clinic. It wasn't a very big clinic. And so I went off on my own, and I got an executive suite. And I brought my sister on board to be my receptionist assistant, scheduling, person, help me with just some miscellaneous things. And we operated out of that executive suite for about 12 months. Looked at her one day, and we just were talking like, what's next? And, that was a super simple business model. It was just me and her, super low overhead, one executive suite. We were making great money. But it was kind of like, I still wasn't getting that full amount of fulfillment. So I started just exploring the idea of finding a bigger space to create an integrated clinic, and that's where we're at now in South Tampa. We've got this 3,000 square foot facility. We rebranded from Oliveri Chiropractic to Elevate Health, to be able to have more services, right? So I found the space, got the lease done, was able to secure a business loan at the time to do some, cosmetic facelifts to the facility, buy the equipment that I needed, do that sorts of stuff from a small bank in the area. And just didn't look back. In 3 months, we pretty much had everything completed. Like I hammered things out for 3 months and got as much as I could get done. And we opened our doors in February of 2023, I believe. Yep, February 2023 or 22. It's 23. And so, we've been in business here now for coming up on 3 years, I think, or 4 years. 3 years. So, it was, maybe it was 22. I'm not sure. 3 or 4 years we've been. But it was phenomenal. And so we established this business in the South Tampa area. I treated patients for a full year, and then I got to the point where I recognized that my true joy and fulfillment wasn't necessarily in the treating side of things, but in the business growth and development side of things. Nice. And so I hired another doctor, gave up some income to bring him on board and start treating patients in place of me, so that I could focus on my bigger kind of goal of having something bigger than just, one clinic, et cetera. And so I started to research mergers and acquisitions, and I started to look into just like, how can I really build something cool, right? And so I read 2 books, Private Equity Playbook, and then Buy Then Build. And those kind of set the tone for where we're at now. I acquired a second clinic in April of 25, created a whole MSO platform, what's known as Physicians Development Group. So we are basically a management organization that is buying clinics, bringing them under our umbrella into kind of the portfolio. And we're going to continue to grow that portfolio over the next 10 years.
That's amazing. Yeah, one thing I've learned about chiropractors over the years, I have tons of friends, by the way, who, they've had chiropractic businesses, some very large businesses. Like one of my really good friends, Dr. David, he was seeing about 1,000 patients a week, down in Texas with his clinics, and ended up selling it. But one thing that I know about chiropractors is you guys are really, really good at just fundamental business skills, like acquiring clients. Yeah. Like I know he was old school, so he'd be out in the parking lot and just fishing for clients and just building it from scratch. And then, the traditional marketing that you learn along the way, just growing your clinic, it's foundational just for entrepreneurship. Would you say that you building your clinic in the early days is ultimately like what built your business acumen to go and like expand and scale?
100%. Business is based off people,
Yeah.
right? No matter which direction, which way you look at it, whatever service line you're in, whatever products you offer, you're ultimately catering to people.
Yeah.
Right? And so early on, kind of being the boots on the ground, establishing relationships and trying to provide the highest quality service or product to the people in this community, I think is what kind of got the ball rolling. And, as time goes on, your competitive landscape's always going to be changing, right? And there's going to be new doctors popping up and people going around, to marketing their services. And so, you have to find ways to differentiate yourself, but at the same time, you can't think too hard into that. You just got to be really good at what you do and providing the best level of service possible. And if you do that, people are going to continue to come back.
For sure. How did you go about building your business in the early days when you didn't really have much of a name for yourself?
Reaching out to local business owners, building rapport with them, asking them for the opportunity to go ahead and market my services at their business, primarily fitness studios, health and wellness restaurants, sports stores.
You in the trenches, yeah.
Yeah, man, and just setting up a table and just interacting with people, saying, hey, my name is Dr. Connor Oliveri. I go by Dr. O. I'm a chiropractor in the area. Have you had any issues with anything in the past? Is there any way that I can help you? And just kind of slowly going from there. And next thing I know, I was booking them an appointment with me and then helping them get better. And then they tell their friends, and it just kind of domino effects from there.
How was that season for you? Like just kind of eating humble pie and having to establish a name, go through the rejection?
Man, I'm still going through it, right? Like it never stops.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people think is like you hit this certain point like where you don't have to do that stuff anymore. You don't have to deal with that stuff.
That's when you go backwards. Yeah.
That's when you start to revert, right? Yeah. And so I think for me, the biggest learning lesson that I've had over the last probably 12 months after acquiring the second facility is that like you can never stop pushing your business in the community that you're in.
Yeah.
Like you have to always be going at it. The second that you let your foot off thinking that stuff's just going to continue to come in is when you're going to start to see things dwindle.
Absolutely. I agree.
So like you can never let your pedal off the metal. It's a constant hustle, and it's something that I constantly deal with.
Yeah, that's such great advice. I've been through that myself. Like I'd have all these clients and then contracts would come to an end, and now I'm back on the grind. And rather than always staying active and always getting new leads and everything, and that was one of the biggest lessons that I've learned in business. So I agree.
Yeah.
You always have to keep that hunger and that drive.
Yeah.
Sometimes people get complacent and they don't want to do the hard part, go through the resistance of the rejection and everything, especially when you reach that arrival. You've established yourself, you're on television, right? Like everybody knows you as the guy, and then to go back and do the things that you did in the early scrappier days, it's tough. It's tough putting yourself out there.
Yeah, and you got to stay humble, and you got to understand that that's just a part of being a business owner.
Yeah.
Right? Like you're going to have to always get your boots dirty. You're going to have to always trek through the mud. It's not just trekking through the mud for a temporary period of time. You're always going to be doing it. It just might be at a little bit of a different level.
For sure.
Right?
For sure.
And so as you grow, there's going to be those growing pains. And if you continue to try to grow, you're always going to be experiencing growing pains.
Yeah.
So getting comfortable with the uncomfortable, staying true to who you are and not thinking that you're too good to do something now.
Yeah.
So.
Absolutely. When it comes to chiropractic, I know in the early days there used to be a lot of backlash. Like a lot of people didn't necessarily agree with it. And did you have any of that on the come up?
There's always going to be people that are a little hesitant with regards to chiropractic care and the services that we offer. But I think with the shift that we're seeing in the health and wellness space, with people starting to be way more health conscious, and starting to be more proactive rather than reactive, you're starting to see that kind of mindset shift. Not so much anymore. I mean, you're always going to get the occasional person that's like, ooh, it's weird. You just crack bones. And I don't know how I feel about that. But when you start to educate people and get them to understand, well, we're not just cracking bones, that's a byproduct. But we're getting your body to where it should be for your age. Like everybody has some sort of dysfunction in their body, and dysfunction almost always ultimately leads to some form of disease, right?
For sure.
And so the best way to avoid disease, pains, aches, chronic illnesses is to get your body, get it right, make sure that everything's in sync, communicating the way that it should.
Yeah, for sure. Was there ever a moment where you were just like, man, why didn't I just get a regular job? Like what the hell am I doing here?
Dude, last Friday, I was like, it was like one thing after another was happening. And, I got home, and I'm so blessed. I have a beautiful wife who is a great listener. And I was just, dude, I got home and I was like, today is one of those days where I wish that I could just sell everything and go get a $65,000 a year job and not have to deal with the things that I dealt with.
For sure.
Because ultimately at the level that we're at now, I've got 25 employees between the clinics, and then with our concept downtown, we've got roughly another 25. So we've got roughly 50 individuals that think that, I'm their boss.
Yeah.
With the clinic but with the contrast therapy facility and the downtown concept, we've done a really good job at, my partner and I have done a really good job at creating that boundary of like, we're the co-founders, but we're not management, and you go to management for this types of stuff, right? That way our operators can operate and we can remain the visionaries and kind of accomplish the long-term things. With my clinics, I'm still looked at as kind of, the head honcho, right? That everybody kind of answers to, and I'm working on phasing out of that and creating really good systems and processes for our teams. But ultimately, everything's still going to fall back on me because, they'll look at me as that kind of figure right now. We're not big enough yet to where I can kind of remove myself and hire an operator in place. So, yeah, it was just kind of one thing after another. We had a blip with our payroll, and then we had some stuff going on at one of the other clinics from an IT standpoint, and then I was dealing with some attorneys on some patient issues. Dude, it was just putting out fires left and right.
Yeah, it's tough. And all in all, like when it comes to just even operating these businesses, I know there's seasons you obviously go through, and there are those winter seasons. What season on your journey would you say was like your darkest hour? Any specific season that comes to mind where it was just really, really difficult?
When I first opened our clinics, or the clinic in South Tampa, and I had gotten that business loan, I renovated the facility, I was out in the community, boots on the ground, and I was just trying to figure things out. I hit a point about I think it was 3 or 4 months in, where I couldn't make payroll. And I was laying on the floor of this office in the dark, just like, what did I get myself into? Fortunately, I have great family members who support me, and I was able to get a loan from them and repay them back in the following week because the cash flow cycle had just kind of fallen in a weird area. But it was a great learning lesson for me to try to create way more of a cash reserve than I initially thought I needed. Of course. But those are the things that happen in business. You're gonna have those moments where you kind of hit rock bottom, and you're gonna need somebody when you're starting out that has your back, whether it's a family member or a friend, and you can't feel ashamed for having to go to them asking for help.
True. Yeah.
Because there's gonna come a time where they may need help,
That's right.
or there's gonna come a time where somebody's gonna need help, and you're gonna be able to help them.
Yeah.
A lot of people think that you just go on this entrepreneurial journey and the ones who are successful never have a bad day. Mm-hmm. And I can honestly say that is probably one of the most false things that somebody can think. The most successful individuals are often the ones that had the most bad days. Yeah. You look at Elon Musk, the guy the company was almost bankrupt for Tesla.
Of course, yeah.
And he found one investor who was willing to give him, I can't remember what the number was, but it was a couple $1 million to keep the company afloat.
Yeah.
You got to go through that stuff, and you can't be too hard on yourself. you got to learn from it. And then, you know, you just kind of move on to the next thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. So
How do you go about integrating faith when you're there in the valley? And is there a specific process you go through, or is it more relationship? Is like, I know my system, you know, and they kind of talk in our church a lot about abiding,
Yep.
right? And that's been super helpful, just receiving those downloads, if you will, just tapping in with God. But also, you know, there's just fundamental things like the prayer, the meditation, or church, or scriptures, and, you know, things like that. How have you gone about integrating your faith into just everyday business? And what would you say is the importance of just having a faith-based life during those tough times?
well, it's major key. It definitely recenters you. It's very easy to get pulled into your world of business and forget about your world of just life, right? If your business becomes your life, you're out of sync. You need to have your life, and then your business is a part of your life. For me, being able to have learned the abiding lifestyle, right, and spending time with the Father on a day-to-day basis on how to make decisions, how to manage, how to take those next steps within the fields that I'm in, has been just absolutely tremendous. And I'm super grateful for the individuals that, you know, brought that to us and have taught it to us. I'm actually going to be leading a group of men through it over the next 6 weeks. So that was definitely vital and fundamental. My prayer life has definitely been very important. You know, I think that being an entrepreneur requires faith, right? Maybe not the religious type of faith, but the faith in yourself,
Absolutely.
right? And the kind of taking that first step without seeing the whole staircase type of mindset. So if you're somebody that's looking to go down that journey, you have to believe that there's something out there that is going to have your back. I personally have, you know, fallen into the Christian faith because it's like, I think Joe Rogan was just talking about, is like, it's like the one faith that you really can't find anything wrong with. It's only all good. And this guy, Jesus, is ultimately, you know, has lived a perfect life and, you know, kind of been the way and taught us how to live the way that we should live. So, kind of going back to your question, not to get too far off on a tangent there, it's been incremental, like super important for me personally. It fuels me, it ignites me, it gives me energy, and it allows me to go ahead and understand that even if things don't go the way that I want them to go tomorrow, I could still go have a conversation with about it tomorrow morning and figure out what's next.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I definitely agree with that as well. And along your way, how has it been, just like even from your personal life? Like, has it just been all hustle, all grind throughout your entire, you know, 20s and 30s? Or like, did you just kind of have like, you know, some time for your personal life to just do other things outside of business?
I think it kind of has gone in waves, right? It's funny. The woman who I'm married to now, I actually met 5 years ago when I was broke as hell, had no money, and was trying to figure out whether I wanted to work for somebody or start my own business. Yeah. And we had dated for about 2 months, and I went to her and I said, listen, like, I can't be the man that I want to be for you right now, and I've chosen that I want to go down this entrepreneurial journey, and I need to fully commit to that without any distractions if I want to be able to kind of really get to where I want to get. And she wasn't very happy about that. And I was sad too, because I knew that I had a connection with her, but ultimately I knew that the time, energy, effort, and sacrifice that I needed to make in order to go ahead and start what I wanted to start, I wasn't going to have any time for fun, right? Yeah. And I didn't want to have any sort of responsibility or, you know, to answer to somebody else when I was so focused on trying to do one thing. Like, you know, when you get into a relationship with an individual, it's really 100 100 and it's full transparency if you're doing it the right way, right? And you're doing everything you can to serve that person and create balance and that stuff. But there was no real time for fun. I went really hard for probably a year, that first year. And then I went on, a little vacation. Like, you need to kind of treat yourself here and there. And then I went back hard again, and then a little vacation. Just now, I think it's kind of gotten to the point where I have a little bit of flexibility, right? But I mean, I'm 32 years old. I don't need to be taking super long vacations now. I just went to New York this past weekend with some buddies to watch the Knicks-Lakers game, and we left on Saturday morning, and we got back Monday morning. Yeah. And it was a quick trip, but it was a good little break to go ahead and just kind of hang out with some guys, watch the basketball game, get out of your normal routine. But now it's back to it. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. When it comes to just even we spoke about competition, and there's a lot of parallels between sports and just in general, like business. What are your views on just obsession and competition? Because there's obviously a lot of different chiropractors that you're constantly competing against for business, in a sense, and you sort of have to be obsessed. I believe if you're going to bring anything into fruition, that's great. You have to have this pig-headed obsession, if you will. But it's kind of hard sometimes, right? When you're trying to juggle relationships and your faith or your personal health. And what are your thoughts on that specifically? Like, do you feel like obsession is a necessary component to really build something substantial?
Wow, that's a great question. I got to think about that for a second. I would say that there's levels to obsession. I think obsession is important, but I think that it can also be your worst enemy, right? And everything in life is about balance. So I would say, yes, you have to be obsessed on accomplishing what you want to accomplish in life, but you can't be so obsessed that it also destroys your relationship with your wife, right? And so having this balancing act or juggling act is really key. I've liked to kind of reframe it with my athletic background and think of it as like business is the greatest sport that there is out there, right? Because it is a competition. You can play it until you're 75, 85, 90 years old.
You can be on a team.
Right? You can be on a team, right? But I take a lot of, I think, the young in me, and I bring it into the business world in the sense of like, I just got to have fun. Like, yes, you have to win. Yes, you want to be competitive. Yeah. But at the end of the day, if you lose, it's a part of it, right? And you got to learn and go back the next day and try to be the best that you can be. When it comes to the competitive landscape in Tampa, there's plenty of patients to go around, right? Yes, we have probably 10 chiropractors in a 2-mile radius of our current clinic here in the downtown Tampa area. But there's millions of people that live in this city.
For sure.
Right? And so there's plenty of food to go around the table. I personally like to choose collaboration over competition because I think that when you collaborate with even your peers, it creates opportunity for you to go ahead and add more value to your patients than you could just yourself, right? Because your peers know sometimes more than you know. You need to respect and understand that. So that would be my take on that.
For sure. Now, when you came into the space, did you have like a specific mentor that you followed? Where'd you kind of learn the bulk of just your entrepreneurial journey? Was it kind of like trial and error? You were just experimenting with different things? What was your approach to just, climbing up the ladder?
Yeah, trial and error and learning along the way, right? And being able to self-reflect. spending that time with God in the mornings was really a big thing for me. I think that, a lot of people don't take enough time to really figure out where they want to go or what they want to do, and they get too ingrained on doing one thing, and they do it over and over and over, and they never get the results that they want.
Yeah, for sure.
For me specifically, it was a learning lesson along the way. It was really just kind of putting one foot in the front of the other and taking time to think about where I ultimately wanted to end up and what my ultimate end goals were, and then reverse engineering it from there.
For sure.
There's a lot of guys out there that are really good chiropractors, and they're making over $1 million a year. And they treat patients, and they do it really well, and they manage their clinics, and they're in their business on a day-to-day, grind, treating, doing notes, 70 patient days, right? And if that's what brings them fulfillment and gives them the return that they want, then that's fantastic.
Yeah.
For me, ultimately, I've got the desire to, I think, build something that's bigger than just that, right? And also do something that brings me fulfillment rather than just treating somebody inside, right? So I've chosen to make the decision of okay, rather than being the operator, I want to see if I could be more of the visionary and try to build something that's much bigger through other business growth and development strategies, right? And that's when I got involved in the M&A side of things and really understanding buying and selling businesses, and to make the impact that I want to make, that I feel called to make. Yeah. I felt like that was kind of the best route for me to go, and I've kind of dove all in head first to it to get the returns that I can give back in the future.
What is the impact? What's your North Star today with everything?
So my mentor's life motto, right? Or his kind of North Star is to get as many people into heaven as possible before he dies. That's him and his wife's kind of mission statement. I think my mission statement is to be a positive light and bring as many young Christian men as I can, bring as many young professional men that are entrepreneurs to the Lord that I can over my kind of period of life. Because I think that there are so many distractions out there in the world right now for a lot of these young guys. And they don't really know what they want to do with themselves, right? They see all this kind of flashy stuff, right? And there's so many misleading things on social media now. And it's really easy to get internal conflict, think you're not doing good enough, start to get a little bit of kind of jealous, right? Why is this person there and I'm not? But also not understanding the full picture and educating a lot of these guys. It's listen, okay, there's tons of people out there that are making 250, 300 grand a year, living in an apartment, spending $5,000 a month on their apartment, and then they've got a $3,500 payment on a Lamborghini, and then they've got all their expenses and nice dinners and meals, but then at the end of the day, they're left over with nothing. Right? Okay, sure. Yeah, and they're posting on Instagram. They have all this stuff, right? That's what's actually occurring. It's not like this person's building wealth. It's not like this person's building a solid quality life for themselves. It's not like they're making the right decisions when it comes to their personal lives. So I'm feeling really called right now to go ahead and make an impact to those younger professionals. Nice. Young guys that are in their early 20s, mid 20s that are trying to go ahead and establish solid careers for themselves and build for their future.
For sure. What advice would you give your early 20s self? You're 22, 23 years old, just starting out. What would be the advice you would give yourself?
Don't compare.
That's good. Yeah.
Run your own race. And it's something that I still deal with to this day. I think I have such high goals and expectations for myself. I find myself constantly comparing myself to others, and it's like the enemy of myself, right? Yeah. From the competitive side of me, it's I want to be better. I want to do better. I want to be able to add more value. But it's also the most toxic thing that you can do for yourself. And not really be proud of yourself, where you're at, what you've accomplished, this journey of being an entrepreneur is hard. So the harder you on yourself, the harder it's going to be all the way around.
Yeah.
You need to give yourself grace, and you need to go ahead and operate out of a mindset of, I have enough, I'm doing enough, I'm on the right track. Just let things play out. Be patient.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree as well. I think that sometimes we kind of get caught up in just people's story from a very surface level. You know, we live in a day and age where everybody's posting their wins, and and it's like public hero, private zero kind of situation.
That's a great way to say it.
Yeah, and
I've never heard that.
Yeah, and I think that it's like you said, it's a trap. And you know, it's interesting because suicide rates, right, for men, I mean, we account for probably over 90% of suicide rates in the world, and we live in a world of what's referred to as relative deprivation. You know, you looking at everybody else and what they're doing, and you think that it's all glorious, not realizing what they actually have to do, like behind the curtain. And you know, it leads a lot of young men into depression, and they just feel like they're not enough, or they're not doing enough, and it is a trap. It is a trap. But I feel sometimes that competition or just even comparing, sometimes you need a reference. And I like the idea of being more so inspired than envious of someone, because I think that you could really benefit from being inspired. You look at a LeBron James, you may know internally, like, yeah, I'm probably not going to be LeBron, but he's sort of like, you know, the North Star, and let me run my race. However, like, he's the standard, right? You can have it as a reference and sort of like reframe it as well.
100%.
Yeah, because there most certainly been guys that I've followed along the way, and you know, young guys crushing it, but then I'm like, well, I have 3 kids, right? I have a wife, I have 3 kids, I homeschool my kids, and sometimes you have to look at the different dimensions of your life. It may look completely different than a young scrapper who can go and put in 70, 80-hour work weeks, but when he hits 40, he's probably going to be in baby making mode, and he'll have his season for that. So I think you do have to honor your journey. You really do, because our lives are just so multidimensional. You know.
Agreed.
Yeah. What would you say moving forward? What's the big dream for your business, your empire? I know you spoke a little bit earlier about possibly selling down the road.
Yeah.
But do you plan on just building this multinational empire, or is it going to be one brand, or you're going to kind of dive deep into different aspects of the healthcare world?
No, yeah. Full transparency. I think that there's like kind of a 10-year plan that's in place for this race that I'm running. And the goal is to acquire as many clinics as possible over the next 10 years, and then sell the portfolio and kind of move on to the next thing. And then for the contrast therapy facility, same thing, to try and open up as many locations as we can in major cities across the United States. And then sell that and kind of move on to the next thing. I'm not somebody who's, you know, I don't want to go ahead and own these clinics for the next 30 years of my life, right? I think that for me, and what fires me up is constantly learning, constantly innovating, constantly growing, getting into different types of businesses and learning about these different types of things and how they operate. So I just enjoy the business growth and development. So 10-year plan for both, basically grow them to sell them. So
let's say you're 45 and you have an exit and it's $100 million. What do you do from that point?
Well, take a breather, because the last 10 years are probably pretty damn hard. You know, I think in a perfect world, it would probably be opening some sort of family office, and finding a business that was something that I could buy and then grow over the period of 3 to 5 years and then sell. But do that with like 2 or 3 businesses, and have a solid team in place to help facilitate that process. Get into some commercial real estate, do a ton of philanthropy, host as many of these abide retreats as I could possibly host, to accomplish my end goal of leading young men to Christ. Find maybe a little bit more balance than I had in the first 10 years. Be as present as I can possibly be for kids. I'm not, you know, I'm not a dad yet. Hope to be a dad. So if I'm blessed enough to where I can have kids, be as present as I can possibly be for them at that period of time in my life.
For sure. Sure.
So.
One of the things that I could appreciate about the way you've gone about building everything is you put a strong emphasis on your personal brand as well. And your personal brand will obviously carry out throughout your entire life. You may buy and sell businesses and do a bunch of M&As, but your personal brand will remain. How important would you say is it for someone to build a personal brand in today's day and age?
With the way that social media is heading, I think it's extremely beneficial for people to build personal brands, but at the same time, that's coming from a guy who has a little personal brand, but doesn't want a personal brand. Like, I want to be the guy that has businesses and nobody knows who owns them, right? And they're all super successful, like behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Do I enjoy the conversations? Do I enjoy the education aspect? Do I enjoy the mentoring aspect? Absolutely. Do I want to be the guy that has the 25 million followers on Instagram and is posting every day about what I'm doing, how I'm doing it, trying to sell people on something or, educate them on something? I don't know. It's a weird, I'm in a weird position right now when it comes to personal brands, because I feel like it's really hard to identify who's real and who's not.
Yeah.
Right? Who are the bullshitters and who are not. I feel like, there's tons of people out there that are selling these courses and these coaching classes on sales or, business, and they've never had a business on their own. Their business is selling their courses to these other people.
Yeah.
So it's a different, I think you can kind of understand, you've been in all different parts of the, of the business field and the industry, and the validity, it's like, it's starting to get a little bit skewed. And I think people that think they have the education to be able to educate people on specific topics don't really have the education that they need. They don't have the experience that they need.
Yeah.
I
think what's happening in the coaching and kind of expert, industry specifically, it's kind of like every other industry. You're going to have the ones who really like thrive at the highest level, and they're part of the 1%, and you'll just have a lot of noise just kind of clouding the rest of the space, and eventually time will kind of expose people for like whether or not you're about it or not, right? So I think that's really what's happening. It's kind of still a relatively new industry, but I have noticed that a lot. I take great pride in just mentoring the next generation of experts in their field, so I know this space really well, and there is a lot of noise, unfortunately, but I think that it could actually work in your favor if you have built something substantial. And I had recently spoke at Podfest, which is like the #1 podcasting conference in the world right now, and one of the things that a really influential YouTuber said, it's like the harder your path has been, the harder the path and the harder it is to acquire, like whether it's building your brand or your reputation, the better off you'll be in the marketplace, because it's just so hard to replicate that. Right. So I think that like you specifically building your brand, the Dr. O brand, if you will, it's just going to stand on a very strong foundation, because a lot of your emphasis is predominantly on building the business. I think that's what's unique about what you guys are doing here. You're really putting a strong emphasis, but simultaneously, also working on your brand, because I see a lot of other chiropractors, they're not, promoting like with Yoga 6, for example, or on Bloom TV, and, now on podcasts and all of that. But I do think that being a wellness advocate is such a blessing to the world at the same time. So it's like, how do you not shine light? Scripture tells us to shine our light, on top of the hill for the world to see. And if you're truly going to be a wellness advocate and help people, when it comes to their overall wellness, kind of have to put yourself out there. So it is a battle.
Yeah, I think where the difference comes in is nowadays you're getting so many individuals that are making money off of their personal brand, not necessarily a business that they've built.
Yeah.
And that's where the problem lies. Like, I didn't make any money for Bloom TV.
Yeah.
I didn't make any money for any of the podcasts that I've done. I haven't made any money for, you know, the different things that I do from that standpoint. I make my money from the businesses that I've created, which employ other people and make them fulfilled and successful, and we're helping communities. You know, I'm not somebody on Instagram that's, like I said, like creating some sort of hype, posting these stupid reels, trying to get people to join a sales team.
Yeah, for sure.
And, you know, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's different. I feel like you look at somebody like, I think this is the best way to put it, like, you look at people like Alex Hormozy and Tony Robbins. I'm sure you just listened to the podcast that they came out with.
It's good.
Unbelievable, right? Those are two guys that have built tremendous businesses,
of course,
that contributed to the communities that they were in, and ultimately helped them serve their higher purposes, right? And do what they felt that they were called to do. Alex Hormozy doesn't make money from posting on social media. Alex Hormozy makes money from the value that he's providing to the businesses that he's created.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Oh yeah.
It's so hard. It's so hard to explain it, right? And I think it's just a perspective shift. But like, off the top of my head, it's like I can think of so many people that they've created unbelievable personal brands for themselves, and they're benefiting financially from that personal brand. But what real value are they adding to others outside of talking about controversial topics and getting a ton of discussion behind those topics that generates clickbait and all that stuff on their social media, which results in revenue, which results in money for their pocket.
Yeah,
right.
For sure.
So, you know, I personally think that with the direction that we're headed in, that's going to be becoming obsolete. I don't think that social media is going to be around for much longer. I think it's going to go away. I think that, you know, AI and all of the fake stuff that looks real is going to skew people's, you know, trust in the platforms and ultimately lead to the dissemination of it.
For sure. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, AI is interesting with everything happening right now with AI, because I think, you know, we're at the point of singularity, as they call it. We don't really know what's on the other side of it. And before we even bring it in for a landing, I wanted to ask you, what are your views now with AI? Like, have you been integrating it a lot into now your business processes and all?
I think because of the businesses that I'm in, there's only so much that we can do to implement it. Service-based businesses, it's really hard to implement AI because people are always going to be what make your businesses successful.
What about infrastructurally, though?
Infrastructurally, software, tech.
Yeah.
I think that the systems that we're using are starting to incorporate it. So it'll only help things. I mean, I use it when it comes to different administrative duties and things that I'm trying to accomplish, because it allows me to communicate much more effectively.
Yeah.
I think I'm a great communicator, but I think that being able to go ahead and input something into the AI and for me to receive something back that fully reflects everything that I wanted it to reflect, and then sending that off is much more, it's much better than if I was to just do it on my own. It allows me to be more productive, communicate better.
Absolutely.
So I think that there's a great space for it.
Are you hopeful about the future? I know some people are kind of like, you know, this is a doomsday and it's like we're going to experience a Terminator situation. But are you hopeful long term about just the benefits of AI, or do you feel like it's going to kind of, you know, lead our world into destruction?
No, I think that there's a time and place for everything. I just think about how it's controlled. I think that we all need guardrails in our lives. And just like we need guardrails in our lives, it needs a guardrail. And I think that there are guardrails being put into place. You know, the thing with AI is like, it learns from the input that it receives. And so controlling the input that it's receiving, or using the platforms that have much more controlled input is what's going to be the most important thing.
For sure, for sure. Now, I can't end the show without just going over, before we close out, just a few wellness tips that you would give to the young entrepreneurs that are starting out. And when you're on the grind, you're hustling, like sometimes it's hard to kind of make your health a priority. Or in today's day and age, a lot of people aren't as active. They're at the computer all day. If there's like a 1-page manifesto that you would create just for optimal health on your journey, what would that be? Like the essentials.
Sleep, self-reflection, and we'll just keep it going with the S's. Be social and present, right? I think that too many people are on technology too much. I think that too many people aren't getting enough sleep. And I think that too many people are not being social enough with the right people.
That's good.
So obviously, you can go into the vitamins, the supplementation, getting blood work done every 6 months, and all the basic stuff from like a health and wellness, exercising daily, getting great, dopamine releases from that. There is a ton of stuff out there, but I think the 3 most important things that are affecting people right now is sleep,
social.
Being social, and what was the other one that I said?
The S's. You said?
Sleep, being social, and you remember what it was?
I think it was our phone call or something.
Sorry.
But
sleep, being social, and I forget what the other one is. But
for sure. No, I agree. I definitely agree. I know sleep has been a big thing for a lot of people these days. So I actually recommend people start shutting down the tablets and everything after 10 p.m. Just get off the phone, read a paperback.
Self-reflection.
Self-reflection.
That's what it was. Self-reflection. Taking time to actually unplug and be present with yourself, whether that's through the journaling, whether that's just walking around. Spiritual life. I think it's super important.
I love that. Dr. O, this was great, man. I appreciate your time. I know you're a super busy guy, and it was just nice being able to pick your brain here and just learn a little bit more about you. And appreciate you serving our audience. If there's any last words of wisdom or any piece of advice that you would give to the audience, what would that be? God forbid this was your very last interview.
Oh, really putting the pressure on me. I would probably say be more present. It's easy, especially as entrepreneurs, to get ahead of yourself and be so forward thinking about what's to come and trying to work towards that goal that you forget to slow down and be in the moment.
That's so good.
So one thing that I've tried to do lately is just be more present.
I agree. I remember reading the book The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle.
There you go.
That was the defining moment for me. I had no clue, and I was just never present. So I couldn't agree more. Thank you so much, brother. Appreciate you. This was great. Hopefully we get you on the next episode at some point in time. We get you on another one, and go to your other facility. You have Embers and Ice.
That's in downtown Tampa.
What are some of your businesses that people, if they're in the Tampa Bay area, they can check out?
So if you're in the Tampa Bay area, South Tampa, if you're looking for chiropractic physical therapy services, you can go to Elevate Health. We've got all things health and wellness there, from acupuncture, red light therapy, hyperbaric oxygen, chiropractic, physical therapy, dry needling. That's your go-to proactive preventative wellness spot. North Tampa, you can go to North Tampa Spine and Joint Center. That's going to have chiropractic care and massage, as well as acupuncture. And then for contrast therapy, we've got our new facility in downtown Tampa called Embers and Ice. That is the Ritz-Carlton of contrast therapy facilities. Nice. We have been really honing in on creating a great environment for people to get into community, right? To be present, to self-reflect, and to socialize with other individuals that are kind of aligned with them.
That's amazing. And where can our audience find you?
You can find me probably best found on my Instagram. That's going to be at dr.oliveri. And then you can follow all of our businesses. That's going to be at Embers and Ice, and then at Elevate Health facilities.
Nice. Make sure you guys follow all of his social media pages. And until next time, guys, see you on the next episode. Thank you. Make sure you like, comment, share, tag someone who can get value from this, and we'll be seeing you soon. Take care.